What's going on, everybody? All right, I am starting to catch up on sleep. This weekend was absolutely incredible. The Strongsville show, absolutely amazing. The interactions with others, absolutely amazing. More on that later in the week. I know. I'm not going to do a whole review of Strongsville, but I will say this, when you're immersed with that much content of people and knowledge and cards and conversation and focus, it's like taking a crash course on something. And whenever you have a crash course on something, there are some big takeaways. So my plan is on Friday, I'm going to do a couple of things. Friday, I'm going to open up the window if anybody has a card from the last month that they want to have included in the MidLife Community Show and Tell, the weekly Show and Tell. What is your favorite pickup? And I hope there are going to be some big pickups from Strongsville. But in addition to that, on the Friday video, I'm gonna really go into two real big takeaways that I had from that show. There were things where you kind of think something, or maybe this is happening, and it was like I was just smacked across the head with a couple of things this past weekend at Strongsville. So I'm excited to share those with you. So I will talk about that. So it's not going to be all about reviewing the Strongsville experience per se, as much as the two big takeaways that I had that were massive aha moments and things became clear. So that will be Friday. But today, this is the Wednesday Q&A. Now, I know I missed my Monday, question to all of you. I will be going over your responses to my question from last week of the most overvalued things in the hobby. And some of the responses really surprised me. Some didn't surprise me at all. So I'm actually going to be focusing on the ones that I was surprised by the most. Some of the things that we all kind of expect are not the ones I'm going to talk about. I'm about to talk about the ones that I was like, I wasn't expecting that. So that will be on Monday. Also, I have finally set the date for the next MidLife Live, which is going to be the last Tuesday in April. I will talk more about that as it gets closer, but that will be coming here in about 13 days. But today, questions from all of you. Excited to go over these. Some really, really fun questions this week. And I know that I'm going to have some rotten tomatoes that I'll be dodging coming from you guys on some of my responses, but that's okay. That's what makes it fun. So the first question right here. My good friend Tony, the Southern Collector 14, says, another great video. Am I crazy for trusting the authentication process of truly determining if a signed card was actually signed by the player and not a fake? Don't sugarcoat this answer just because I collect those and I'm your buddy. Oh, all right. So my guy, Tony, who I had an absolute blast with this past weekend in Strongsville. So much fun. Such a really, truly great guy. It's one of those things where, I got to meet Tony at the National and spend time with Tony at the National, and his channel's great and he's great. And then you spend time and there's just such a level of comfort with some people, and there's not a level of comfort with some people, but that level of comfort is 100% there with my guy Tony. So, he's talked a lot about this on his channel, and he has gone heavy recently into autographed cards, vintage Plain Days autographed cards. And, there are a lot of people out there who have some issues with autograph cards. Maybe they don't like them. Maybe they think it takes away from the card itself. Some people have authenticity questions. And so, Tony has gotten heavy into that. And so I totally appreciate and respect this question. Now, I will start by saying this. anytime I answer a question, I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can and as straightforward as I possibly can, regardless of who's asking the question. You know, you guys, and again, ask questions down below on whatever you want, and I will share my thoughts on it as long as I am not, talking about politics or religion. I'm not going to go there on the channel. That's not what this channel is for. This is escape. This is an escape from that crazy world, the politics part. And I respect other people's opinions on faith, so I'm not going to touch that on the channel. Ask me personally if you're interested. So anything else I'll answer as long as I'm not violating the trust of someone. So Tony, I will take this challenge. Now, here is my thought. You know, a lot of us, a lot of the reason that I think there's this underlying distrust is because unfortunately in this world where there's an opportunity, there are people that will try to exploit an opportunity to make easy money. And I also think that there is a distrust out there because there were so many fakes for a very long time, but more importantly, there were so many people out there that were so anti getting cards graded that they kind of have this ongoing sort of like PTSD of on-card autographs, fakes. I mean, if you've been burned one time on some sort of fake in anything, you know, whether it be a jewelry or a card or an autograph or anything, it kind of scars you permanently. You're like, not doing that again. You know, once you get burned once, people tend to kind of write things off. So there are enough people out there who have probably gotten burned that they're just like, I'm staying out of that area because there is an inherent risk. Now, I'm babbling and I haven't even started to answer the question. Here's my thought. First, anybody out there who thinks that a card that has been authenticated and a card that has been graded is automatically genuine, sorry, I hate to break it to you, but there are 100%, there are some cards in slabs that are fakes. They got through. There's just no doubt that that has happened. Does it happen a lot? I don't know. And I'm not talking about autographs right now. I'm talking about just straight cards. There are absolutely cards that have been altered that have gotten through, that are completely fake that have gotten through. That has certainly happened. So people who say, I'm staying out of the autograph world because I don't want to deal with a fake, you might have fake cards in your collection. Now, do I think a lot of that gets through? No, I don't. I don't think a lot of that stuff gets through. I think most of it gets caught, but wherever there are humans that are doing something, whenever a human is a judge or an evaluator, there are going to be mistakes because guess what? People aren't perfect. And because people aren't perfect, there are going to be errors. So the people who are card collectors, who hate on autograph card collectors, I think need to realize that there is an inherent risk to just card collecting and trusting the grading companies in the authentication process as well. Now, again, I'm not saying this happens a lot, but there's no doubt that it does happen. So to the question about the autographs, do some fake autographs get through? Of course. But I think it's probably pretty few and far between. It's very easy under heavy magnification for these guys to see if something's live ink. So that's part of it. You know, I think that the pressure, especially if you're buying a ballpoint pen autograph instead of a Sharpie autograph, it is much easier to see from the pressure that allows for a lot of clues. So Tony, do I think you're crazy? I don't think you're crazy. I think that this is just my opinion. I think over 99% of PSA authenticated autographs are likely legit. Here's the thing. PSA has an authentication or an authenticity guarantee, right? So if it comes out later that somebody bought an autograph for $1 million and it's fake, PSA has to pay out $1 million. So what does that tell me? Now, looking at the risk assessment in that, it's almost like looking at like what an insurance company would do. What is the risk assessment here? And there are definitely statisticians involved with this. What is the likelihood of a mistake? What is the cost per each mistake? If a card has much value, if the autographed card, let's just say, is over a pretty small amount of money, let's say $500, I think they're going to be really sure that it's right, because they're not really out much if they say, sorry, can't authenticate it. Now the customer might be a little bit upset, but oh well. They don't have to give you an explanation or anything. So if I'm PSA and I'm leading the autograph authentication division, I'm going to say we need to be certain that it's authentic to stamp it authentic. And because of the possible downside of being wrong, reputation damage. I mean, just think about this for a second. There are people making YouTube videos all the time, right? And we're cracking slabs and we're sending cards back in and we're seeing all this stuff. Imagine if somebody sat down and had some fake autographs and faked them and got them through and made a video about all the fakes that they got through and how they faked it. Now, they probably wouldn't do that, because if they did that, then they would be thrown out. But what would that do to PSA's reputation? If someone videos themselves doing fake autographs, sends them in, they come back authentic. That would be massively damaging. It would only take one person to do that. So I know, I'm going on and on and on. I know, Greg, get to the point. The point is this. I think PSA, for any autograph that is not a very inexpensive autograph, I think they are virtually certain, 99.999% in their opinion, that it is authentic in order to label it authentic. Because the downside, the side of being wrong, they're going to err on the side of caution. They are only going to say it is legit if they are certain that it's legit, because if it's not legit and they say it's legit, huge damage to the reputation, and they've got to pay it out. So, do I think you're crazy for believing that almost all, close to 100% are authentic? I don't think you're crazy. And do I think the people who are leery of it are crazy? I don't think they're crazy either. But I think PSA has so much to lose by calling something authentic when it's not, that they're going to be pretty darn sure that it is in order to give it the thumbs up. That's my take. This next one says, question: if you were given a chance to get any card for free, with the caveat that when you passed, it had to be donated to the Hall of Fame, and you could not sell it or trade it, what card would you choose? This takes value out of the equation because you can't use it to better the life of your loved ones, help out a charity, or flip it to broaden your collection. It is just something you could enjoy yourself and share your enjoyment with your hobby friends. Fun question here. Fun question for sure. What is the card I would take for free if I could have any card for free? And value doesn't really matter. I think this is kind of easy for me. I have a lot of friends in the hobby, and a lot of my friends have a lot of incredible cards. I mean, I have multiple friends who have 52 mantles. I have multiple friends who have Joe Jackson Cracker Jacks. I have multiple friends who have, Leaf Jackie Robinsons or 51 mantles or, I mean, just the people on YouTube that alone have most everything you can think of. So if and the question pointed out a card that you could have to enjoy and to share and share with your hobby friends. So I mean, to me, if you're gonna have a card that someone else in the hobby would be interested in seeing and holding and looking at, it would have to be something that's ultra well known and ultra rare. Those are the two things. What's really rare and what's really well known. And when you say really well known, there's a lot of cards on that list. When you say really well known but also very famous, that's not as big of a list. You know, there are a lot of cards that are pop 0, or pop 1, or like they've never found one. Or it's in a set, but nobody's found that one from the set. Or that it's a pop 1 in a set, or pop 2 in a set. And I'm not talking about a pop 1 in a certain grade. I mean, like, at all. So, just the other day in Strongsville, I, for the first time, held a Honus Wagner. And it was a restored Honus Wagner, which is, like, kind of counterintuitive. Like, the thing I like about cards is that they're not restored. So that one was restored. But it was still a Honus Wagner. It's still a portion of that item was pulled from a pack of tobacco, and it was a Honus Wagner. And it was special to see it, but it was really cool to hold it. And so I think I got to go with the Honus Wagner, because if I have any friend in the hobby and they come over and I show them just about any card, they go, "Oh yeah, that's cool. That's a really neat. It's a great card, Greg. Good job." But a Honus Wagner, that's the kind of card that somebody goes, "That's a Honus Wagner." So I think I'm going with that because it's ultra famous, and it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not as rare. I have some cards that are more rare than that. There are multiple examples out there. But I think that would be the one that would be the most intriguing for friends in the hobby to see and look at and enjoy. So I'm going T206 Honus Wagner. My good pal Brent Richards in Baseball Card says, "Great stuff. You always make sense. Question. Let's say you are in a contest. Let's say it's against 100 other knowledgeable sports card YouTubers. The contest would be to treat baseball cards like a 10-year CD. Let's say that every card available on Earth is at this year's National. You have to spend $10,000 of your money on vintage baseball cards. Yes, baseball only. Everyone has to cash them out in 10 years. The contest winner would be the one who has gained the most on their investment. Let's say the stakes are really high, like a $1 million prize to make your retirement very comfortable. Which card or cards would you buy this year for that $10,000, knowing that it is really important to make the best decision and that you have stiff competition? Would be super fun to hear your answer." All right, Brent. You're putting me on the spot on a value question. Now, I'm okay with the question. I actually really like the question. But let me again throw out the disclaimer. Not investment advice, not financial advice. Just like I have in the description of every video that I post, never am I offering any sort of financial advice. I'm just talking, having fun, and throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what happens. So, the question. Here's my thought process. When you look at something going up in value, like, do I think, a 52 Willie Mays is going to just suddenly surge in value? I mean, it might. It could be a 52 Topps Willie Mays, but I don't think it'll be a 52 Topps Willie Mays. There are too many 52 tops Willie Mayses for it to have a huge surge in value, in my opinion, in the next couple of years, 10 years. I guess the question was 10 years. So here's my thought process. For something to jump in value a lot, it needs to have either something kind of major change that leads to a huge increased demand, or it needs to be a very low supply, and any amount in increase in demand is going to make it jump. So I've talked about this card before, so I'm going to tell you what I would do. And I've talked about this before, and I've had conversations, and I'm buddies with Tony. Tony just asked a question a few minutes ago. And we kind of agree, and we've kind of gone back and forth and said that we agree on it. I really think it's the 47 Bond bred Jackie Robinson. And here's why. Number one, Jackie Robinson is a household name. And household names are always going to have demand. Number two, Jackie Robinson is a historically important person, and he will always be well known. So we got household name, historically important. Number three, people love rookie cards. And I'm sorry, that's his rookie card, the 47 Bond bred. I know that people have definitions of what's allowed to be a rookie card. I don't really care what, you could say that his 49 Bowman and his 49 Leaf are also rookie cards. You can say whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. But if you want the earliest Jackie Robinson card, it would be the 47 Bond bred. So you can get the first Jackie Robinson card of a historically important person, of a household name, rookie card. Now, and I've talked with Tony about this, so I think Tony would have my back. Tony, in the comments down below, tell me. But he and I have had this conversation a couple of times, and with the Michael Jordan Fleer, which was long thought of and accepted as Jordan's rookie card, and in my opinion, I still consider that a Jordan rookie card. And then people talking about the Fleer 101, or not the Fleer, the Star 101 card as the real Jordan rookie card. And I'm okay with people calling that the Jordan rookie card. I can call them both a rookie card. You can call whatever you want. I don't care. But the whole thing was for years that was the Fleer because it was widely distributed. It was randomly inserted. It was opened in packs. All the different checkpoints that people have. And that's the reason they would point to the Leaf as the rookie card, which again, I would consider the Leaf a rookie card. I would consider the 49 Bowman a rookie card. But I also consider the Jackie Robinson 47 Bond bred as a rookie card. And I think as people are changing their minds about what is defined as a rookie card, the 86 Fleer, is it? Most people would now say it's the Star Jordan card is the actual rookie card. So this not widely released, not super random, smaller regional type thing is the rookie card. I think that if that then plays out where other people see other types of cards as the first card and the true rookie card, and the population of that Bond bred with the clipped corners, because it actually went into the bread loaves, I think that card has massive upside. So if I'm going to the National, and that card is not particularly expensive, Tony had two, and he offered me to buy one of them. And from a financial point of view, I should have bought it. And I ended up because I had a couple of friends that were also interested in it, and I know they were really wanting it, and I kind of said, no. I think you want it more than I want it. But from a financial point of view, I will look back on the decision to not buy that from Tony and say, that was a really dumb decision. Because I think the 47 Bond bred Jackie Robinson is going to go way up. But, well, then why didn't you buy it, Greg? First of all, it's beautiful. I really like it. Why didn't I buy it? The main reason I didn't buy it is because I don't buy cards as investments. I buy cards that kind of seem to go in my collection. And where my collection is right now, the Sandy Koufax rookie that I bought and the portrait T206 Mathewson that I bought are more in line with my collection. And though I would like to have the Bond bred Jackie Robinson, it doesn't really go with my collection. And then I got a couple of friends who are really interested in it too, and Tony's selling it at a insanely fair price to his friends because he had two. That card. So what would I do? I would go to the National and I would put $10,000 into 47 Bond bred Jackie Robinson cards. And not investment advice, but I like my chances in 10 years of the return on that card. And again, probably the worst financial decision in my card collecting history to not have bought Tony's in Strongsville. That card, I think, is going to go bonkers. This next one makes a comment about last week's comments and then says, what are your collecting pet peeves and or proclivities? For me, one peeve would be the nonsensical matter that the hobby defines rookie cards sometimes. Say what you want, but for me, the 1963 Fleer Maury Wills is not a rookie card. A proclivity for me would be that a card cannot exist in two places at once. I really dig Ernie Banks and the 1955 Bowman set. As such, I have a player run for Banks and am in the progress of a set build for the 55 Bowman. Alas, I have but one 1955 Bowman Ernie Banks. It cannot reside in both my player run and the full set. I guess I will be doubling down on the 55 Bowman Ernie Banks at some point and picking up a second specimen. Okay, so this is interesting one, definitely interesting one. I've actually been asked this question before, but it was a long time ago. It was like 2 years ago. I've been doing these Q&A episodes for over 2 years, and I'm still pretty sure I've never missed a Wednesday in those 2 years. But I've been asked that question, but it's been a minute. And so your question was two parts. It was, what is my pet peeve and what is my proclivity? And so I don't know what a proclivity is. I must have missed that on the SAT. You know, people say all the time, Greg, how could you not know this? I thought you were a teacher. You know, people say, you missaid this word. You mispronounced this word. Aren't you a teacher? I am. And I also can't balance a chemical equation in chemistry. And I also can't solve a lot of calculus problems anymore. At one time, I probably could. I can't find the area of an ellipse in trigonometry, or there's a lot of things in the world I can't do. And my job is not to teach everything. That aside, proclivity, I even looked up the word proclivity. I said, still don't get it, so I'm not going to try. So pet peeves is where I'll land. The pet peeve that I have, the biggest pet peeve that I have, and this is the one I used before, but it was a long time ago, is when dealers don't put prices on their cards. I mean, imagine going into like the supermarket and there are eggs on the shelf, there's milk on the shelf, there's bread on the shelf, and they don't have prices. And I've got to go, excuse me, sir, employee of the store, can you tell me how much your milk is? A card show is a mobile store, and you don't have prices. And I have to ask you, and then I ask you, and you go, let me look up comps? Let me look up comps? What do you want for it? What are you talking about? I almost never, if you don't have prices on your cards, if you don't take the time to put prices on your cards, I doubt that I'm going to buy from you. I'm almost never going to ask. I'm about to sneeze. Pushing through. I'll hold it back, I think. I don't understand that. That makes no sense to me. I think that's my number one, and part of the reason that is in my head right now also is because I was just at a card show, and there were a few dealers at the Strongsville show without prices, and I said, how much you want for that? And they like start comping it. I'm just like, never mind. Like, good luck with that. And I don't know, maybe I'm a bad person, but that one drives me crazy. Pet peeves beyond that. I know that people think that I'm sitting here with like a list of notes, and people say, stuff like, oh, that was so well thought out. It wasn't. None of this is thought out. This is literally, I just a second ago hit record, audio record. I read the question, and then boom, here I'm going to answer it. No planning involved here. I did pick the question, and then I screen grabbed it, but no notes or thought out, anything. I think another thing that does bug me is it kind of bugs me when people make it seem like someone else is collecting wrong. Can opinions be wrong? People are saying, yeah, I can think of a lot of opinions. Yeah, I guess there are some opinions that can be bad, but I don't think they're wrong. The thing about a hobby is it's like, what brings you the most joy? So like when I go golfing, I like to play it straight. I like to play golf and see what I shoot. It's a challenge for myself to try to shoot a good score. Other people, when I golf with them, they give themselves a preferred lie on the fairway. They hit one out of bounds, they take a mulligan. There's a 2-foot putt, they just give it to themselves. It's not wrong for them to do that. Now, that's not how I want to do it, but it's not wrong. And people will say, well, why don't you who cares, Greg? Just take another one. Just take a second ball. I was talking while you were swinging. I still swung. It's not that I'm doing it wrong or the other person is doing it wrong. We should be doing it in a way that brings us the most joy. Now, there are times I've done videos and I've said, don't make this mistake. Why are you making this mistake? And people would say, why are you telling me I'm doing it wrong? Why are you saying if I collect that way, it's right and that way it's wrong? That's not really my intent. My intent when I do a video like that is, hey, think about it this way. Think about this other side of the, a different perspective. Here's a different perspective. So instead of doing it the perspective that you've been doing it, what about this perspective? Is what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say you're doing it wrong. Even though I might say, why do you do that mistake? Don't make that mistake. You're trusting the grading company. Stop trusting the grading company. If you want to trust the grading company, trust the grading company. I don't really care. But I don't like it when people say, you collect that, that's dumb. If it brings you joy, now, it may not be a smart financial decision to buy one thing over another thing, but I don't think that makes it wrong. I don't think there's a wrong way to collect. There might be a financially advantageous way to collect. There might be a financially disadvantageous way to collect, but I don't think there's a wrong way to collect. So I don't like that very much, even though I've certainly been accused of doing that, and maybe I have done it, but so I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. So I'll go to the next question. And finally, this one says there's definitely a difference in how PSA grades now as opposed to 25 years ago. Question based on that is, should PSA reslab a resubmitted older graded card with the original grade, or should they regrade it based on the current standard and methods? How does this affect their reputation if they start downgrading cards, or likewise just blindly reslab as is? Really, really, really like this question, and it's something that I've thought a lot about. It's something that I've talked a lot about. It's something that I think my opinion has changed a lot on over time. Ultimately, PSA gets to decide what PSA wants to do. The problem that PSA has is that they have changed their standards. I know they repeatedly say, we haven't changed our standards. And then they'll change their language and they'll say, we didn't change the standards, we just changed the language. And then we're supposed to just go along with that and believe them, even though it's... So that's beside the point. This is not about that. If you look, and I haven't done this in a while, maybe I should do it sometime soon, but if you look at cards with old slabs and old serial numbers and compare them to new slabs and new serial numbers, it is indisputable that they are grading harder. If I had a lot of money, if somebody said, Greg, I want you to do this experiment, here's $1,000, I would go out and I'd buy like 20 slabs in old PSA graded slabs. 20 of them. I would crack them all. I would resubmit them, and none of them would come back with the same grade. They would all be lower. And then 90% of people would say, aha, there's proof. And then 10% of the people would say, well, how do we know you didn't damage them after you cracked them out of the slab? Or how do we know you didn't, damage them by cracking them out of the slab? People are going to believe whatever they want. And this is why it goes back to the buy the card, not the grade, because ultimately, that's all that really matters. But to your question, what should they do at this point? So a lot of these slabs have been around, right? A lot of these cards in their slabs have been around for a really long time, and they're beat up, and they look beat up. And so what happens is you can send a card back in to be reslabbed, so it's no longer a scratched up slab. It's now a nice fresh slab, and it's not very expensive to do that. And so the question is, when that happens, should they regrade it? It's a good question. PSA would never do that because, number one, by doing that, they would have to actually admit, oh yeah, we made a mistake. And for whatever reason, like my wife, she loves it when I say, I was wrong. I made a mistake. PSA would be divorced because PSA has never they don't admit that they make mistakes. They'll do it on little things. Oh, we probably should have, said this differently. But they don't admit that they make mistakes with things. So they wouldn't admit that they are grading harder now than they used to. So they would never do this. Greg, what are you talking about? I don't know. I'm still delirious from the lack of sleep, but I power on. I think that they will never do that. What do I think should happen? Now, number one thing that I think, my wife is using the blender in the other room now, but it's not her fault. It's my fault, okay? Honey, if you're watching this, it's my fault that I'm recording this during a time that you maybe would have used the blender. So I'm sorry, I was wrong. Happily married guy right there. Very happily married guy. So what was I even saying? I don't know. What was I saying? I was talking about PSA. Oh, what should PSA do? So first thing I've said for about 3 years now is PSA needs to put the date that a card was graded. Now, they won't do that. They won't do that. SGC does that. SGC has the month and year the card was graded on their when you do a cert lookup. PSA doesn't have that. PSA would tell you some of the old records aren't really accurate, so we can't do it. Okay, PSA, well then why don't you tell me the range? Okay, this is pre-1994 then. I would be okay with that. It doesn't have to be August of 1992. They won't do it. They should have the year and the month that the card was graded. That's information that we as future buyers deserve to know. The other thing that I have said in the past is what the serial numbers, again, remember the serial numbers are not sequential. So the serial number can be a clue, but it's not always a clue, especially because some of the serial numbers were out of sequence, especially with cards that were graded off-site. So what would happen is back at headquarters, they're grading cards, right? And they're doing serial numbers somewhat sequentially. But then they would do on-site grading, and they didn't have computer systems linked at this point. And so they didn't want to have two cards with the same serial number, so they did them out of sequence. So they're not fully sequential. So the serial number can be a clue, but it's not necessarily a clue. Greg, what are you talking about? Here's my point. We deserve to have an idea about when a card was graded since they've clearly changed their standards, which they claim they haven't changed. And the serial number is not a direct correlation to when it was graded, but it is a clue to when it was graded. The flip, however, the flip is. So what I said about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I was talking about this topic was, why don't they use the same flip? Okay, re-slab the plastic, crack the slab, take the card out, and instead of putting a brand new flip on, use the old flip. Because the old flip doesn't lie. The serial number might lie. The old flip, the old tag, right? The old tag doesn't lie. And that's what I said. And somebody made a great point because that, I mean, hey, if you see a brand new clean slab, problem solved. And somebody said in the comments when I said that a couple years ago, the problem though, Greg, is there are certain counterfeit things that the new flips have in them, holographic, different anti-counterfeit proofing stuff that the old tags don't have. So when they crack the card and they re-slab it, they put in a new flip because it protects the owner from a possible counterfeit for other cards out and about. That's fair. So my response would be, there's got to be a way to incorporate some of that anti-counterfeiting technology into the existing flip. New hologram additions, some sort of stamping, some sort of laser technology to put in an anti-counterfeiting to that flip. So take the old flip, do something to it that makes it hard to counterfeit, but still tells us the age of it. Or you could just put the date on the cert lookup when I look it up in the PSA database. But they won't do either. So, not even sure if I answered your question, but that's my best attempt. That's my thought. If you have a question for an upcoming episode, down below in the comments, simply ask it. I look forward to hearing what you guys want to hear about.